Loosen the lid.
Nice and easy.
The tool, because it's a little sticky, but I'm not going to take it quite off this way. Get behind it and lift it off away from my face just for a second. See a spider coming out of the bottom there. No activity on the lid. Holding this side down so it doesn't pop up towards me. You were saying I need to herd the teas.
Yep, we're just going to use it and smoke them down.
An angle.
See how they just move down, but if you put the smoke down below, then you're kind of defeating the purpose. There you go.
So we got a lot more room there. I'm going to take the tool and use it, let the tool do the work. Put it in there, get the right angle, little pressure. Everything is very slow.
Level that out. You're still kind of you're digging at that angle. You like that angle there.
Oh,
so you can see. Yeah, you want to be able to move your.
Right.
There you go. Right. Now it works as a pivot tool.
Sure. I'm not using it as a digger. I'm using it just to.
There you go.
Lever. Okay. I got that loose. I need that maybe.
It's the beauty, eh? Got a little bit there. It's not fully capped, but
it's about all we're going to get for the
what's your side look like?
Last day of September.
Whoa, that side looks better. Look at that. Let's show the camera. Look at this, folks. Check that out. Yeah, we got a little bit capped on there. Cool.
One side. There's
the
other.
Beasleys.
So now we want to
Now we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how we can take a look and see if this on this side, even though it's not capped, it can still be ripe, or we can see about how ripe it is without even needing a refractometer.
Now I'm carefully trying not to squish too many. I'm going to have to give it a pop.
Old heave-ho.
Okay, a little concerned because I don't want them sliding back under there. But
and bees are going to get in the way. That's what bees do. Do it like you mean it. There you go. One more. That's it. Now you can brush them.
And I'll brush them down instead of across.
Yep.
like I started to do.
Well, you don't want to give them footholds. You know, this way you're coming at them from the top down. It's harder for them to grab a foothold. You brush off a lot easier.
Yeah, a lot less work than the last time I did it. One side, just using grass that I grabbed over there because you were saying about
they don't like nylon. I've never had the luck of it. I've known people who say they don't have a problem. I'll tell you what, they don't work for me.
This is the same grass that I've been flying through. You want to see me put it in the box with the lid on it?
No, we want to show you how we're going to tell if this is cured or not, or ripe.
Okay.
Okay, because not all of it is capped. So here's the how-to part of the video, eh? All right. We do have some capped here, so we know whatever's under the wax capping is ripe, okay?
Okay.
All right, but a lot of it...
The capping is the dark...
This is this up here. This is what you call, and it's, you know, it's really neat because there's two kinds of cappings. It's all wax capping.
Right.
But this dark stuff like this is called a wet capping. Because what happens is the wax that they, cap that they put on comes into contact with the liquid honey. And so it gives it the contact wet look, that dark look.
Gotcha.
Whereas you can see some of these white, solid white ones, well, that's where the wax does not touch or come into contact with the honey. So that's called a dry capping. So when you see a full frame of white, that means it's all dry cappings, which means it's not coming into contact with the honey. Some people say that wet cappings can be an indication of honey that wasn't fully ripened before they capped it off. I've never personally experienced bees that have capped honey before it was ready. Usually if bees figure it's ready, I trust the bees. They know what they're trying to do.
They've got the cookbook.
Listen to the bee. Here's a little yellow jacket. She's being a troublemaker, trying to get in there. But we can see it's kind of thick in here. And if you want to find out, is it really bad, that's going to mess if you try to harvest this, we can tip it over and watch if it dribbles out. Literally, it's going to run out if it's too watery. And we got no drippage, none. It's not even budging in there. So what I want to say is this is probably really good in terms of being cured.
So it would have been watery under the white or under the dark?
No, the open cells here, we can look and see we got a lot of open. They're not capped at all.
Right.
But you can see there's liquid in them.
Right underneath, right.
Yeah, let's take a look a little bit closer. See, you can see right here, there's no capping at all, but there's still liquid inside. But if you tip it over, we'd be able to watch some drippage or see wetness start to drip out, accumulate. That means it's not ready yet.
And that means we didn't put our finger through something that we shouldn't have either.
Yeah, well, it also means that if you try to mix it with other stuff, blend it with other honey that you've already had that was capped, it could actually bring the moisture content level up. That could cause fermentation later.
Gotcha.
So you never want to put in honey that hasn't been properly got the right moisture content level. And that's why we always check. Make sure that it's not too watery. We don't want to do that. And if you do mix in any honey that's not capped, that is kind of watery, you want to make sure that you're mixing it in with stuff that's really, really been for sure capped and dry, and you know it's the right moisture content level. Because then 18.6 is about the top end of what they consider ripe honey. It can go down to, you know, like 17.5% moisture content. That it's not going to ferment. I don't care what you do. It's not going to ferment unless you raise that moisture content level. Okay, but at 18.6, it could go either way figuratively. Okay.
Well, if I was to pull this out and find leakage, what would I do with that then?
You want to dry it out, and simply could be as much as putting a big fan to blow over it.
Just leave it separated from the
or
other
put
ones?
it in a really warm, dry room, like it's got a dry heater in there.
Okay.
You know, and that could help also evaporate some of that moisture and take that out of it.
It doesn't mean it's not good. It just means it needs
to dry out.
Just dry out, and
yep.
But don't mix it with the other stuff until it is dry.
Right.
Gotcha. And that might be when you want to test it.
And so when we get back up there, we'll take a look at the other stuff that you got, and we'll see how much of that is good. And if we don't have a refractometer, you bought a kit, but it didn't come with a refractometer, but that's okay. That's why we're looking at it this way. But we'll be able to take a look, and kind of percentage-wise, we'll take a look and see how much capped versus how much uncapped, and we'll make decisions. Okay, we got this many capped. We won't mix in this many, or we will. Maybe we can afford to put in one that's mostly ripe uncapped because it shouldn't bring the moisture content, change it that much. You know, it might breeze it up a little bit, but because you're adding so much that's already the proper moisture content level, it only minorly. And you're still within that range of, you don't want it to get above 18.6 though. And that's where refractometers come in really handy, because that's what allows us to be absolutely sure.
Sure.
You know, but you know, back in the old days, we've been doing this for 6,000 years. And so we kind of know, we can get a pretty good idea just from how much actual visible movable moisture, you know, how much it drips or whatever. Yeah, that's just not, we don't want to risk putting that into our other stuff.
Well, not knowing what we were going to get into, you had me segregate two different places to put them. So this is going to go in the box that we have a lid on that we're going to keep.
We're going to keep it for now because it looks like it's pretty ripe.
Good. All right. Put it away and go to the next one.
Hey everybody, how y'all doing today? This is Big Bear, Tony Sandoval, BBE Tech, Apiary Services, and the Bee Smart Beekeeping Project. Like I said, we're doing more content. We're going out, we're meeting more people who are getting involved in beekeeping. Some of them have been doing it for like forever. Some of them just get started, and some of them are somewhere in between. Today, we got a fella, he's been doing it a little while, kind of off, kind of on, and he's kicking back up again, so he's kind of like in the middle there. And this is Mike. Mike, say hi.
Hi guys.
Mike. Oh, last time we talked, I introduced you to Chris. And Chris, he knows all kinds of stuff about brewing and craft brewing and all that kind of stuff. And he had an interest in mead, and that's where a lot of his interest, original interest in beekeeping came from. Now Mike has got a really cool background, because talk about, you know, bees, people think about bees and beekeeping as like you know, dangerous and you know, living on the edge kind of a thing, little stinging flying insects and all. But really, you come from a background, you were a police officer.
Right, New York City.
In New York City of all places, right? I'm telling you. Okay, but you're also an attorney.
Right.
Now you want to talk about a guy who's been in life and death situations and life-changing places in the courtroom. Nothing can change your life quite like a courtroom can. So you've been in those really intense situations before.
Yes, I have.
So what brings a guy, police officer, attorney, to play with bees? Why? Where are we coming to bees, Mike?
Well, I tried it about 10 years ago. Just out of curiosity, I thought I would give it a shot. And I failed miserably. I had one hive and I did things by looking at books and thinking I knew it, and it didn't work out. Then they had the excuse that there was a bee kill-off or some kind of a disease. And I said, well, obviously it wasn't my talent, it had to be nature. So,
there you go. It wasn't me.
It had to be something
I
else.
still say that. It wasn't me.
My lack of knowledge? No. So last year I tried it again. I got a starter set, a little box of bees with a queen, and one hive, and I tried, actually 2 hives, and I thought I was doing it right by getting little bits of information from people. And I had 2 hives in September, and then I had no hives in October.
Wow.
And I made a mistake of feeding them with a feeder. I got the nice feeder, and I put it on the top, and I didn't know to seal the top so that the bees wouldn't come in the top and take a drink out of the top and drown and fill the pan full of dead bees. So now I know to tape it. It's one of those experiences that I really wish I would have learned through a videotape instead of the hard way.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
So after I did that, I said, okay, well, I'm 0 for 2. And Tony had a class that he put on at Metro, and it was 6 weeks for 3 hours of class, and I said, let me learn what I can. And the most important thing you learn is you get Tony's phone number, because as things go on, you're not going to
I won't steer you wrong at all, will I?
And Tony's been out a couple of times to help me. I took his class, I got a good knowledge of what to do, what not to do. And so far, it looks like I actually might have if not a spoonful, maybe a couple of jars of honey.
Hey, and that's always cool. Love when we get honey. We just broke this down. You had 3 mediums on top.
Right.
And then you had your 2 deeps for your brood area, for your brood chamber. So we took all of we just got done taking all of that off of there. But you know what? I'm going to come back. I'm circling back because I lost track of my place. See, this is how you know I'm not a professional video guy. I'm a bee guy. Mike, you talked about starting with beekeeping.
Right.
But why?
Why? My wife is an animal lover.
Aha! There we go.
My wife loves flowers and plants.
Yes.
And I've got a backyard that I could play with, and I thought, well, it'd be nice to have fruit trees. And I've got some fruit trees. I've got apples and pears and peaches. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice to have bees to be able to pollinate and maybe get something at the end of it. I didn't do it for the honey, I did it for basically the trees. And
sure.
I thought it'd be a nice hobby, and it's not as time consuming as I thought, you know.
So the lawyer says it's his wife's fault. Never take the blame. Remember that, people. Maybe I said that. Okay, I said that. I made it up as I went. Still, never take the blame.
Well, also, I met my wife in law school.
I get it. Oh, there you go, see?
My wife and I got married. I graduated law school at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we got married at 1 o'clock that afternoon, and we've had the firm open 25 years, and she's the senior partner.
You just go for it, don't you? You just jump in.
My family was here. I rented a suit. My wife had to get a dress, but, you know, and she graduated the next year.
Don't play around. You're going to do it. Just go, man. Go. Love it. You got some beautiful, because you do have such a nice property, you're able to plant, like you said, you got wildflowers all over the place, and I understand you're looking at even more sometime in the near future.
Yeah, well, we can.
And,
my wife
you know,
flowers here until the tree fell, and then having taken Tony's class, I learned that they're not going to fly when it gets, what, below 50?
Usually, yeah, about 50, 55, they tend to stay in because their muscles, their muscular system is, they're cold-blooded, like they're insects, and so they got to be able to generate enough heat just to move.
So when that tree fell in June, I thought, let's wait until maybe November, and that shouldn't irritate them too much, and I can get the tree cut down. But we planted wildflowers in there, a whole variety of them.
By gum, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, it's a beautiful place you got here.
Thanks.
And got some great bees. We worked these bees today, and all I wore was a hat and veil. 2 reasons. One, they're particularly docile and gentle. They were so well behaved. Ha-ha. And also, I'm not particularly all that bright. Because really, if you feel more comfortable wearing gear with flying, stinging insects, please wear the gear. If you're comfortable, you'll move better, you'll be more confident in your moves. I'd rather you wear the gear. Just because I'm not that bright doesn't mean you have to be not too bright. So you see Mike, he's smart. He's got the full gear on. No problems. He did a great job, by the way. He went through this like a pro. I'm telling you. I think I'm going to have him teach the next class. Yeah, I'll just kick up in the back and don't kick my feet on the desk. But they were really good. I mean, not a single sting. They didn't even get aggressive at all. We did find a few small hive beetles. We found a couple of stinky little wasps that are trying to hide out in there. Gives us a couple indications that we were ready to take and break this down. These bees needed to have less space. They didn't have quite enough population to manage all the space they had. So we needed to break that down and make sure now they've got more bees per square inch of space. They're going to become a lot more efficient. They're going to become a lot more effective at patrolling and managing their space, which means you're going to go into winter now, and we'll do another inspection coming up, you know, probably in about 3 weeks or so, I think you were talking about.
Sometime
and
before Halloween.
we'll see that we probably shouldn't see the numbers of little troublemakers like little yellow jackets, you know, wasps and all that trying to sneak in there. Because you got more bees. There's like, hey, we got nothing else to do but be on guard duty. Whereas before, so much space, they just have to spread out so thin. Makes it easier for pests to come in, especially if you happen to have like upper ventilation, little holes, you know, they can sneak in where bees are more spread thin. Spread out thinly. Okay, well, you know what I mean.
When I took Tony's class, we had 3 of the large boxes, supers, and 2 of the smaller ones, and we got the other one because I'd taken it apart about a month ago, because it's more important that we have the bees next year and see if we can keep this thing going rather than see what we can take for ourselves. So
see, and the beauty part of that is you get these girls through the next year. There's 1 hive you don't have to buy. You just do a split, you got 2 hives again. Right. Maybe even 3. If they come out really strong, you could break it into 3. I've seen it happen, you know. So it's potential. You got some growth there. We just got to take care of these girls. Make sure they got what they need.
I started out with great. 2. That's why there's a foundation here that I put together, and I put the. Yeah, it's raining on it.
It's sprinkling. We close this thing up like just in time.
But I I didn't get the queen in there properly. And
oh yeah,
that was something Tony came out and said, yeah, well, there's no queen. They're going through the actions. They don't know there's no queen, and we had to take that apart. I really wish I would have taken Tony's class and known a little bit more before I opened the queen, because I didn't do it right. When I opened it, it kind of flew near there and flew right out and never came back apparently. So that's why I've got the boxes and all this equipment.
They will do that. They, for weird reasons, and I've seen it happen in other cases, you know, not all the time. It's not even really common, but yeah, we've seen queens just, they don't like it, and hasta la bye-bye. Sometimes they will be sneaky because they're already working on a queen, and they decide they don't like the new one. You know, I mean, bees are weird. Rule 1, Big Bear's rules of beekeeping, rule number 1, bees are crazy. Never forget it, people. They're crazy. Don't try to predict them, because it just ain't working. Don't do it. But yeah, so, you know, this has been, I mean, I love it coming out here to visit you every time. You've got a beautiful place. You've got some great bees. They're looking awesome. Like,
nice
again, so docile.
I'm 10 feet away, maybe.
Yeah.
And I can stand here with no mask. Nothing has come over to sting me. You can take a look at them. And I'm only into it once or twice a month tops. Because the one thing that was really relaxing when Tony started teaching the classes, you don't want to go into the hive every day because it'll cause more anxiety and stress for the bees.
And you.
And me. Yeah. And if I'm wondering, hey, I have to do this. This is one of many other tools. Chores that I have. Yeah. I haven't been out here in 3 weeks, and I think before that was about a month. Yeah. So once or twice a month is about all the commitment, and time-wise, we started not 2 hours ago, and we were done, and that'll be it till 3 weeks.
Yeah, we're gonna, like I said, we'll look forward. And the nice thing is, instead of having to worry about any feeding, because they did have some good honey stored up, we're gonna give them about that other 3 weeks, and you've got honey already that you stored from earlier.
I took the third box.
That's right.
And I saw the ones that were good, and I took the whole box and one at a time moved them into another one so I get the bees out of there. And then I took it and put it in the freezer like Tony told me, so that we would kill anything that might be a problem.
Yep, kill pests,
and
eggs,
if you
larvae.
empty a whole freezer completely out, if you have an extra one like that was 25 years old and you really didn't want to get it out of the house, that's great. Take everything out and the box will fit in the freezer. Leave it there for a week. And then all the little buggers that we're worried about get frozen.
Yep, they die. And then you got honey to feed in the winter, going into winter, instead of worrying about sugar syrup. The problems with sugar syrup this time of year, you're going into fall, you're going into winter, and if you start feeding too late, that sugar syrup, even if it's 2 to 1, which is a pretty thick concentration, it's still, they may not fully ripen it by the time it gets too cold. And if it means it's not ripe enough, then you get problems over the winter like mold, because you got all that moisture in there, and they're still, as long as there's larvae, they're still holding the temperature in the cluster of like 95 degrees. So you got the heat in there around that you know, that not ready, you know, sugar syrup. So all that really does is it causes it warm, and it just creates environmental issues, and that kills a lot of hives over the winter just because all the mold and the extra moisture in the air, and there's just right off the bat, that's a problem you're not going to have to worry about.
Well, even the hassle of moving the third box a few weeks ago is a lot less hassle than taking 10 pounds of sugar and a pot of water and heating it up. And
you're not getting yelled at by your wife for making a mess in the kitchen, like I am always getting yelled at. Not that I really use a lot of sugar syrup, but I have to do it for help other people, and I make a mess, and that's what it is.
And they're getting their own honey back.
They're getting honey, which is what they need.
The
that's what they need.
Yeah.
You got a friend.
Where?
She's right there.
Okay.
See? Calm. Chill. He's just chill like that, man. That's how you got to do the beat. Just chill. All right, folks. This has been a little short visit. We're not gonna be done here because I think we want to go take a look. We're gonna see you're gonna maybe do a little bit of extracting.
I bought some new toys.
You got some toys. I love toys.
Tony's gonna show me how they're supposed to work.
So we're gonna go look at the extraction toys, and I'll see you in a little bit. All right. Okay. We made it up to the top of the hill. We found the toys. He got himself a new extractor. I love the smell of new stainless steel. Okay, whatever. Anyway, he also got a...
I got it without the motor.
No motor.
And I only got the 2 frame instead of the 3 or 4 frame.
You want the exercise.
Well, that, and I didn't want to spend money if there's going to be
That's true, yeah. It's a lot more money for the motor
itself. It might take a minute or two, so...
You got this really cool little comb. This makes it really nice to put when you're decapping. You put this. It's got a little form thing. It fits on the pail like this, and it just seats right on there, so you can sit there and put your frames on the pail and scrape it right down in there. If you're using a knife or whatever, cuts it right down into the pail.
They sell it as a whole kit.
Yes.
So you get that and the knife and the bucket. And
everything. Now, decapping, it's a decapping kit or tank kit. You want to use one that's got the valve on there because it's going to leak honey down in there. You want to get the honey out, okay? So that's going to allow you to just flip the thing, pour whatever honey drained out of the cappings, and you're golden. So it's a nice little setup there. These are really handy. Be careful. This is a sharp little nail, like screw thing here. It's got a sharp point because you use it to stick the some of your older frames. They're made out of wood. You use that to keep it in place. But it's also got this neat little tray, these holes here. What happens is you take a frame like this one, okay, and all you do is just sit there in one of these little holes. The end of it fits right in there, just like that. Look at that. Bang. And then you could sit there. Now, if it was wide enough, you'd use a decapping knife and cut it, and it would just fall right down in that side. But since this is kind of still within the edges of the frames, we probably use, now not on this one, of course, but we use the little capping scratcher.
Now, is that something we want to get for salvage, or is that
this is one we were going to hold back a little bit, and we'll see how fully capped these are. But they say, let's say this one, okay. This has got cappings on there, and this is where we would just, because they don't exceed the width of the frame, okay, you'd use a knife if they extended beyond this, so this would be the easy way. But we use a capping scratcher. We'll just go right along, and a little bit comes off. We just kind of scrape it off here, and then we stick it in the machine. Works out beautifully, and you got a place to put it all. So I love these things. Works out tremendous. Okay. So you got your frames ready. You've got a knife. Got your capping, scratching tool. Good cold knife. You know, heated knives are great, especially if you're doing it in a cooler area. But you can take a cold knife like this, get yourself a pot of water. You keep it hot. You know, you put like a little burner or something. Sure. You know, keep that in the hot water. You just fine. Plus, it helps keep it clean in between. As long as you dry it off before you cut, because then you're adding extra water. So you got to dry it before you cut. That's the one problem I've had people say, I use the knife, but all of a sudden the moisture level changed. You forgot to dry it off in between. Yeah.
Just looking to heat it.
Yep.
But not directly. You don't want to put it under a
Yeah, well,
pot.
it'll tend to mar the color, and if it gets too hot, it can also affect the flavor.
So the water would be better.
Yeah, I prefer the water because, hey, it helps keep things clean, less sticky, and just got to remember to take that paper towel or whatever, and just dry it off, and then start your decapping.
Lots of ways to do things, but when you find out the right way, it makes a little more sense.
This here is your regular good old tank. Again, you got your valve here, you got your basket. It's got two sides, so you can put two frames in there. I don't know if you can see. There you go. Nice little hand crank. Little plastic see-through cover so you can, it doesn't spin up and out, but you can see what's going on. Keep it balanced. That's the big thing, balance. Okay, you don't want this thing to get unbalanced. You get one that's like too heavy on one side over another, this thing will start kicking and rocking. You don't want it. It's no fun. And if you got one that's really heavy and it's a bigger one that stands on them tripod legs, man, that thing will walk all the way across the floor on you because it's unbalanced. So even like a smaller one like this, having it on a solid platform, this works really well because you can keep it a little bit, even if it's a little bit unbalanced, you know, you can keep it from rocking because you're on a solid setup, you know. So that works out really cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to help him get the fruits of his labor here, and we're going to let you guys go on your day and have a little fun. Mike, thanks for hanging out with us. I don't know if you can see. Can you see Mike over there? Step in. There he is. All right, thanks, guys. And remember, be smart, people. Be smart.